Good evening. Today is August 20th. It's 5:30 p.m. and I am beginning the call to order for the Parks and Recreation Commission meeting. I see we have a nice full house today. That's great. We seem to have a full commission here, so Nate, would you like to do the roll call, please?
Let the record show all commissioners are present.
Thank you. And just as a reminder, if you haven't already, if you'd please silence your cell phones before we begin, that would be great. And for those that can join us in standing, please do for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, fantastic. So first on our agenda today, we have a presentation by Barry, Doug, and David on the Moonlight Beach Skate Bowl proposed project. I understand that you have recently considered another location for that. They're at Moonlight Beach, so we're really interested to hear what you have to say. Also, I would just say that this is a great opportunity for us as a commission to be able to interact with you this time, because the last time when you came to see us, you presented during oral communications, and unfortunately during oral communications we can't have a discussion with you. So tonight, because it's a item on the agenda, we can actually do a discussion and get some questions and answers. So without further ado, if you'd like to go ahead and begin your presentation.
First of all, thanks for taking the time to hear our presentation. I'm Doug Marker. This is Barry.
And I'm David Skinner.
And I want to thank everybody that's here to support this project. Unbelievable. It's a good feeling. While we're here, we're going to give you a presentation, a brief video, and then we're going to speak on some bullet points. And the presentation is that we want to put a professional skateboarding bowl at Moonlight Beach. And you'll see through the video and the bullet points that we share with you, the need, the want, and hopefully everybody get together on the same page on this. You want to roll the video, please? Sure. Thanks.
Welcome to beautiful Encinitas, California, where the coast is amazing and the people are living the dream. This is Moonlight Beach, where the locals of Encinitas hope to make another dream come true. The dream of being able to ride a professional skateboarding bowl located on the sand at Moonlight Beach. With the abundance of parking and easy access, this venue can accommodate any beach activity. Not to mention the rental accommodations available for the skate destination. Moonlight Beach Eatery will also be able to take advantage of year-round customers the new bowl will provide. Encinitas is already known as the Mecca of skateboarding and hosts many skateboard legends, as well as Olympians that should be honored with this skate bowl tribute. Skateboarding is now a sport of all ages, from 6 to 60. Adding this well-needed bowl will help accommodate the growing sports need, as well as be a place for the tourists to witness our great talent and help our future champions grow. So let's all join together and make this much-needed addition to Moonlight Beach a reality.
Skateboarders aren't what they used to be, right? I got some topics that I'm going to read here to make sure that we get our point across. We need another bowl in Encinitas. Let me put some glasses on here. Encinitas currently only has one free skateboarding bowl. This bowl is located in Encinitas Community Park, known as Poods. Poods Bowl can no longer accommodate the amount of skateboarders attending it. In fact, the bowl is now going under construction to replace the bowl's coping and tile due to overuse. Since the 2020 Olympics, the amount of new skateboarders, as well as daily coaching that is going on and making our skate bowl more waiting than skating. For this reason, another bowl must be built in Encinitas. And why we think it should be at Moonlight Beach? Well, we think the new skateboarding bowl should be built on Moonlight Beach. Encinitas is the mecca of skateboarding. Encinitas has more skateboarding legends, heroes, pioneers, and medal-holding champions than anywhere else. By building a bowl in Moonlight Beach, you are showing our city, as well as the worldwide skate community, that you are proud of our skateboard heritage. This bowl should proudly be constructed where locals, tourists, regular onlookers can see the world's best skateboarders, as well as average riders having the time of their life and living the dream.
So Moonlight Beach is already inspirational. And it, like Doug had mentioned, it has the infrastructure already. Y'all done a great job with Poods, and it's a big park. So we just need a satellite location. And this is the spot because it has ample parking, great restrooms, water fountains, a brilliant snack bar. And, you know, as you roll down from parking, you look to your left where we're looking at putting the, on the right where you're putting in the bowl right there, you know, the location goes from iconic to inspirational. And every 100 years, it's probably time to get the park ready for the next generation. And so now when you walk down, there's no beach park like this where you walk down a pathway from parking and you see all the action, the surfing, there's a heated volleyball match. Now imagine Encinitas' secret sauce. You've got some of the greatest skateboarders on a daily basis at Poods, but the only people that see them are the skateboarders. But as we could see with the Olympics that just finished up, I believe the ratings numbers were like 30 million people were watching. So, you know, tourists, beachgoers, everybody wants to watch skateboarding. And so it shouldn't be a secret. It should be part of the sense of place of Moonlight Beach, that everybody gets to enjoy this inspiration, and who knows what they'll do with it. You know, 70 years ago or whatever, people saw surfing, they ripped apart the roller skates and made a skateboard. So it's just unbelievable. And the importance of this location, what we're doing is very novel. We want to raise the money privately from philanthropists. And a location as iconic as this is much easier to attract the money to build a special bowl and not put the onus on the city of Encinitas. So we need a location that attracts philanthropists that want a legacy in a spot like this. And so you could effectively inlay the name of the family in the tile of the pool. So that is very important to our plan. And that's why I said from a park planning standpoint, this is unlimited upside. The only downside that I could possibly see is that we are spot on, and the number of people that want to watch this will be way more popular than anyone thinks. You're talking about when people go to a bowl like this, it's not going to inundate the beach park because you're talking about maybe 6 to 12 people at a session at the bowl. And so your volleyball players, similar numbers. But the number of spectators on a weekend day probably be hundreds watching. But I just think the economic benefits, when you do something this special, you're going to have advertising campaigns shot, and unlike Poods where you have advertising and TV and endless social media, unless you live in the area, you don't know that's Poods. But when you shoot at Moonlight, everybody knows that's Encinitas, and you get all that branding and everything else. But I think the biggest benefit here is the inspiration that is palatable, and there's going to be so many more people that want to skateboard. And when we look at what our plans are here we are in our 60s. It's not about our generation. It's about, this bowl will be here 50 years. It's about generations in the future. And our belief is if you have volleyball courts and a playground, well, you need a skate bowl. And the precedence has already been set with the state that, you were allowed improvements with that great playground and all the iconic stuff y'all did with the lifeguard buildings, et cetera. There's precedent to get approval again. And so what I'm asking is that, the city of Encinitas, I don't know how the mechanics work, but that y'all reach out to the state and see if we can get permission to reserve this roughly 6,000 square foot piece of land. So if we find the funding, then we can build this kind of dream bowl, so to speak. And I think this will make Moonlight Beach Park the best beach park in the country by far. And part of it has to do with the elevation and just the ability to see this kind of sensory overload, art in motion, everything going on, and picture the best skaters in the world flying overhead on this bowl. The photography is going to be just unbelievable. And the connection with the ocean and skateboarding, that's where it came from. It all fits together. So I appreciate the time.
Thank you. So you can see that there's, just from the size of the crowd, that there's a lot of enthusiasm listening to Barry and Doug. This is actually the quietest you're going to hear a bunch of skateboarders probably for a long time. We recognize also, though, that there's more than just the city of Encinitas that has to be involved with this. And we reached out to the State Parks Commission early in the summer, just to give them a general sense of the idea of what we're talking about, to see what would need to happen. We were able to reach their office through Senator Blakespear's office and through Assembly Member Borner's office, and they were able to get right through to staff and kind of find out what the next steps would be. And the upshot is that any proposal has to start here in Encinitas. So community says they want to do it, and then now it's on you. And so we've come and recruited some people to come who are enthusiastic local people about this to help us work to see if we can get this done. So, Doug?
And just to kind of wrap this up before the Q&A, we believe this is an opportunity to show the wonderful people of Encinitas that if they have a constructive, positive plan and share it in a well-thought-out manner, the city officials will do everything in their power to help the people's dream a reality. And what a great feeling to be part of something so honest and giving, knowing that you are a part of a working part of the special place where dreams come true, that we call Encinitas. Thanks for listening to us.
And thank you very much for coming forward. It's great to hear you speak to us again, and great to see that you brought a lot of supporters along with you as well. As you can imagine, we hear a lot of community input with regards to we need more pickleball, we need more field allocation for playing team sports, we need more sand volleyball courts. This is really the first time that anyone has actually come to us and said, we need another bowl to skate in. So I appreciate everyone taking time out of their day to come and be here. So I have just a couple general questions to just kind of kick it off, and then I'd like to open it up to the commission to go ahead and ask some additional questions, and then we'll just kind of go from there. So I appreciate the diagram that you kind of drew up there. Obviously, that's very basic in the sense of just giving us an idea for placement. Could you tell me a little bit about when you put that placement in there, is that like what the actual size of the bowl would end up being in that spot? And obviously there would be a deck, there'd be benches, fencing, et cetera.
I think, and Doug, you jump in, but
I think it is actually, the bowl itself will be a little bit smaller. I think that's a little bit large, but you put it in there at that size so that everybody could get a good look at what it's going to look like in that area. That's a pretty good sized spot, that little empty lot there, and it's I mean, over the years, I mean, it's never utilized. I mean, obviously, nobody lays out there to suntan, and it just, people just kind of walk through there, and it's just an overflow for porta potties or something when they have an event. I mean, so we're actually adding something positive and really not impacting anything that's there.
I think it's maybe, we did some numbers, but I think you're looking at with decking and a railing around it, probably 6,000 to 7,000 square feet.
So a couple of volleyball courts.
And the other thing is
Right.
that, you know, we picked what we think is the optimal location. There's other spots, you know, if we're successful and we get approval, we're open to that. We just think that is out of the way and, you know,
One of the reasons for that spot too is, I went to the Bro-Am, which is probably the most crowded Moonlight ever is. And that spot had 6 porta potties, and that's it. There was no one, you know, picnicking, no one setting up towels, or, I mean, as jammed as it is, so that's one of the reasons that spot there. Plus, you know, this is gonna be on media, and so the iconic shot from that, looking out to the beach with the palm tree, it's gold.
And the access around it as well. Like you were saying, when you have the Bro-Am, you could also include now a pro skate contest there too. So, I mean, you're really just lifting the whole level of entertainment there.
You know, them with the porta potties, but.
you know, and there's another dynamic going on here that unless you go to the park all the time, you don't realize it because of the Olympic experience and everything, and then it's going into LA in 28. But there's teams from around the world that come to Poods, and now you put another bowl there, and they're staying in the short-term rentals around those neighborhoods. There's benefit. Not only that, we'll be there, and there'll be guys our age coming over from Europe. Groups of guys. They hit all the parks in San Diego County, and they always come to Poods. So when you add this high-speed bowl here to what's already at Poods with the Street Plaza and the other bowl, now they're like, okay, well, we're going to get our house right here, and we're going to stay here for 2 weeks, or whatever the case. But these teams come from all over the world, so this isn't, you know, like we said, this isn't what you remember from 30 years ago skateboarding. These are groups of people with money that the whole family skates, you know, so it's a whole nother dynamic, and it has an economic impact. And you know, the other thing about public spaces, we all know that real estate valuations appreciate more near iconic public spaces. Well, now, this is gonna, based on this is gonna be the most photographed spot, I would guess, in Southern California. You know, because imagine skaters flying around down there and you're shooting from up top. If you want to get that postcard of Southern California lifestyle, that's the spot. And that's the problem with most skate parks, including Poods, is you have all this amazing talent, but no one gets to see it but us. But then they watch the Olympics, they're like, this is awesome. But they don't know where to go. So now you got thousands of people that come to Moonlight on an annual basis, and they're all going to see it, and some of them are going to pick it up. And the other thing that goes on with skateboarding now is no one lives in a silo. So they get in the surf, they go skate, play a match of volleyball, whatever the case. I mean, it's all interacted. So this, to me, sets the template for the future. Other beach parks, when you got volleyball courts, why don't you have a bowl? So I think this will become the standard. And what we're saying is we'll raise the money. How often do 3 retired guys show up and say, look, we see the vision for making your beach park the best in the country, and we're willing to do the work. And 20 years ago, I had some friends in Houston, and we raised $2.7 million to build a skate park in a location they thought was iconic. It wouldn't even make the smell test in Southern California. But the point is, you can do it, you know, and that's our thing, is that we believe strongly enough that we're willing to do the lifting and, you know, gift it over. We just want to see it happen.
Thank you. So speaking a little to that, you talked about your group or future group would end up working on doing the fundraising. So tell me about your vision of how the ownership would be and the ongoing maintenance of this amenity.
Well, I would think, first of all, the fundraising, to me, it's one naming right for a family or whatever the case, you know. And the ballpark, for building on the beach, we're guessing we'll just double what it would cost and just say let's just say it's 1.2 million to build 6,000 square feet on a beach. I know the per square foot, so that'd be more than double what it would cost. But I would think the naming rights would be one family that would put their name on it, ideally.
I would say that Encinitas has in the past frowned on naming rights. So, for instance, they refused a donation for the Encinitas Library because they required a naming right. So that may not be something that would be on the table, obviously something for future discussion.
I would think, the other thing we were thinking about is keeping it real subtle. Like I said, in a swimming pool, there's tile. So you could just inlay the name of the person. But yeah, it wouldn't be corporations or anything like that, but I do understand there might be. But that's the leadway we would need in order to say, look, we're not going to burden you financially, but we need something to give to the family that wants the living legacy at the bowl or whatever the case. So that would just be something, we'd have to figure out. But for us to, nobody's going to go down that route without, having some way to say, this is my family did this or whatever.
Okay.
No.
And
terms of
do you
ongoing
currently have like a 501c that you're going to be fundraising through?
I
Or
think we would want to utilize,
One of the things that actually got us thinking about along those lines was a presentation we were at a couple months ago when the Trails Coalition was here. And that actually is an idea we've been talking about. Nothing, concretely developed at all, but that is one thing that could be done, is having a group of volunteers like that that would help with the maintenance and stuff.
okay.
and realize the maintenance with a bowl is basically sweeping it. That's why there's such a great public facility. It's very limited. I mean, if you have a tag or something like that, then the city usually has a group that comes in and cleans the tag. But with a skate bowl and not a skate park, we're talking about a skate park is over there that they have is probably 25,000 square feet. This would be 6,000 square feet. So the only thing you have to maintain is the bowl and the decking around it, and it's basically sweeping and that kind of thing. And as skaters, we always show up and sweep because we don't want to hurt ourselves hitting debris.
Sure.
So I think the cleaning would be very limited. And the 501c3 you asked, ideally, I would guess Encinitas has a parks board. They usually have a sub-account that you could set up as the, Moonlight Beach Bowl 501c3 through the Parks Board, if everyone agrees that this is something we want to do.
There is a nonprofit that helps fundraise for parks and recreation and cultural arts. So that would be an opportunity in reaching out to them to see if they would be interested in helping you with that aspect of it. Tell me how this bowl would be different than the one, obviously the one public one that we have here in the city is at ECP, at Encinitas Community Park. But tell me about how it differs from the one that's at the Y.
Oh, all of the bowls differ. Of course, they're all have round or square corners and transitions, but I mean, each one's like its own freestanding sculpture. So it's kind of the people, hopefully we would be involved in designing it. So our vision is to have a bowl that's super fast, super efficient, because we have what now 20, 30 years of building skate parks, and we're all very educated on what works, what doesn't work, and know the right people to talk to about constructing it. So that's kind of the thing that we want to focus on, is making it the most efficient, easy riding, fastest bowl. So it will stand out in that as well.
The iconic location is the biggest difference too.
Yeah, and I think,
Right.
I think the speed that Doug referenced, that's the thing that's timeless in activities like skateboarding or surfing or whatever. And so if we build it, and that would be the directive that we would want to give to the top builders that would build something like this, is that it's built for speed. Because, we're a good test case. At 60 years old, the faster the bowl, the easier it is for old knees, right? And same thing, like if someone's surfing a small wave, whatever, it's more work. And so sometimes it's counterintuitive from someone who doesn't skate. They're like, oh, that's really fast, but it makes it easier. So I think that's the key, is how it's structured, the shape of it. And like you said, the YMCA is a very fast bowl. Poods is a very fast bowl. So they're like surf breaks, right? Everyone likes something a little different, but I think this one would be, that Joe Sixpack's can ride it fast, but then the special guys that live here in Encinitas, they can do things that you didn't even think were possible as they fly way overhead if it's fast. So I think that would be our key driver, is that we would consider this the first bowl built for speed that's pool replica shaped.
Great, thank you. And I'd like to go ahead and open it up to the commission at this point, and if we might be able to keep, for timing's sake, keep the responses to just, a couple minutes per question, that would be great. Are there any commissioners that have some questions that they'd like to ask?
Yeah, I've got a question. You were here a couple of weeks ago, and it looks like this moved. Was this in a different spot before?
Yeah.
So,
Go ahead, Doug.
I didn't know that, I
Yeah,
didn't
we
know that it
moved
did
Remember, we
move.
had it by the playground. We had it by
We
the
were
playground.
talking
Oh,
about,
yeah,
one of the possible locations was the grassy area by the playground. Is that what you're talking about?
yeah, I think I saw some slides that you.
No, you remember it correctly. So what we got to thinking was, let's think bigger. It'll be here for 50 years, and who knows what'll happen. But let's leave it in a spot where if you did want to have a professional invitational event, you could put up stadium seating around it, right? Somewhere down the line, if someone needed room to put in seating or whatever the case. So that spot has a little more flexibility in terms of allowing spectators to watch a bigger event. Chances are,
And you think that's far enough away from, is there residents right there?
yeah, well, you can't really see, there's like, that's why I said we have flexibility. We put it right there, our artist did, but that whole area right there is
Yeah, I've been by. There's like ice plant and.
yeah, I mean.
It's just a little patch of land, right?
Correct,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, our thing is just, we were looking for a location that has the ability to be expanded for an event someday, decades in front or whatever. But if not, it wasn't affecting anyone at the beach using it right now. And, if it had to be moved to a different spot, that's the way it goes. But
One
yeah.
thing, we've gone to this spot like at 7 o'clock in the morning, and there's volleyball players playing closer to that residence than this bowl would be. And we probably wouldn't be there at 6 or 7 in the morning.
Got it, thank you.
And when you're standing there overlooking,
Yeah.
or anywhere, even just standing on that street, and you look around, where would you put it? I mean, it is clear that it goes right there. I mean, most people don't even realize that that little piece of land is even there. So, I mean, it's, like I said before, it's adding value to the area and absolutely not impacting anything else.
Thank you. Another question?
I have a question. You mentioned sweeping and keeping it clean. I'm curious, what happens during the rainy weather?
That's a good question. I think this could actually be, even if you had a flash flood or whatever the case, this could be a retention pond as well. And so water doesn't affect it, it's a swimming pool. So it doesn't
They do
hurt
have,
it.
there's drainage. in
Yeah.
there.
If you're
I
talking
think my
about-
question is, how do you get rid of the water? Is there drainage, or that would affect the skating,
Yeah,
wouldn't
you
it?
gotta
There's drain like another.
It does have
It
drains?
has to have a drain.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
that's required.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I
Like the
misunderstood.
pool at the Y and at Encinitas Community Park, they have drains, so when it rains,
Yeah,
it
they all.
It doesn't affect the actual skating?
well, when it's wet, but, yeah, it
I
does
mean,
drain, it does drain out. It
the
doesn't stand-
physical drain,
Oh, no,
No,
no.
no.
guy will fall
In
off his
fact,
board.
You hit on something, is that is key with a skate bowl, is there can't be any moisture. Because the urethane on the wheels become like oil and water. So that's why the drain is key, and it has to stay dry. That's not a problem out here.
I would say along those lines, I mean, as we are continuing to adapt to a world that's experiencing global warming with more storm surges, we're looking at a potential location where this is in one of the lowest elevations between two hills. So I can see possibilities of not only water, but also sand and other debris actually getting into that area and actually becoming a bit of a maintenance issue from the standpoint of just the unfortunate location of it being kind of in a sunken area. So I think that would be something that we would have to kind of take a look at from an engineering standpoint.
Of course.
Oh, absolutely.
It'd be built up a little bit too.
Right, and we were thinking, it'll have a good walkway around it, of course, and then, whatever, an 18 or 24-inch seating area curb where you can sit and view, and also becomes a barrier for any kind of debris that would enter it. So, it helps for that as well.
Yeah, Venice Beach has a large-scale skate park on the beach. So this is just a bowl, so there's precedence for it. But yeah, that's why we grossed up the number on the budget, because we know there's a lot of, items that you have to do to properly get the site ready at the beach.
And what are your kind of target budget for doing the entire facility?
Well, when we talked to the builder, they told us that when they build on the beach in Southern Cal, if they were going to do it here, it's $100 a square foot. So that's kind of where we started. And then we just grossed it up because we don't know all the other issues that you have at the beach. So that's how we said, okay, 1.2 million, that's probably a high number, but just in case. So that's kind of where we're thinking until we raise the money to get a bid and everything like that, then, we're kind of flying blind a little bit on all the, things that a site of that type will require.
I know there was another question.
Besides the skate park in Venice Beach, are there any other beaches in California coast that have skate bowl?
I don't think there's any other one. There's one in Australia that's really popular in Bondi, but that's what I meant. This is such an opportunity because it's so obvious when you look at it. You go, oh, why not? Yeah. This is it's just like a hand in glove, like I said. So I think it would change a lot of minds out there. They're like, oh my God, this is what we need at the beach to watch this. So no, I don't know. Do you know of any?
No.
Santa Barbara, is it on the beach?
They
Yeah,
have,
it's a small
they
one,
have
right?
a little flow area, but they don't have a professional skateboarding bowl like that we're speaking to put in, But,
Didn't know.
And then another quick question to follow up with the YMCA question. The Y Bowl does have open time. It's not just classes, and there's the ability for people to go use that. They have to maybe pay or something, but
You do have to pay.
Yeah.
Yes, it's.
correct.
Yeah, it's not free. Our goal is more access. So
And to be
no,
honest-
not charging.
Putting it on Moonlight Beach, I think, and I'm sure a lot of people in this room, we've all been skateboarders since we were kids, since the 60s, and to see the sport grow into a global business and where it's gone, and to know that we're from Encinitas, California, and this really is known currently as a skateboarding capital of the world. Putting that bowl there also shows that how proud we are of our heritage of skateboarding, that we embrace it. So when people come, they're like, wow, this really is the place. Look at, they got their bowl right here on the beach. I think it's like putting a statue there basically for skateboarders.
Thank I just thought I would address that particular area. And first of all, I would say that I am very proud of our skaters that have won in the Olympics, how we definitely have a huge skating community here in Encinitas, which is really kind of it's the place really in the United States to skate. And we have a lot of iconic people here, whether it's Tony Hawk or so many others that have helped make Encinitas what it is, being kind of the skate capital of the country. So very excited to support that. I do feel like you have a high uphill challenge with this particular location, and I'll share some thoughts with you as you kind of consider this particular location or other locations. Absolutely agree with you. It is so iconic. It is sexy. The idea of seeing stuff happening there, skateboarding, ocean in the background, photographer's dream. It's very sexy. However, from the reality of the situation, I know that we have a drainage pipe that runs underneath that. We have huge infrastructure that is all on that area to the left of the road, which the city just recently redid the piping down through there. So from a standpoint of digging into that area, just from a mechanics of what's under the sand, there are some challenges there.
That piping you're talking about, it is absolutely there, but it's, that water's coming right here and going right there. That pipe goes right out there. This is off to the side.
That particular drainage pipe is adjacent, but I think there's another drainage pipe that also runs under that area. But again, that's something that we can look at once we get into more of the meat of the matter. I had originally looked at this particular area years ago at putting like a Muscle Beach Venice fitness area there, because I too saw that it was an underutilized area of the beach. There were some palapias that were there. That was it. And then they, like you said, have removed those, and they sometimes use it for storage for bathrooms. And at one point, they had stored some lifeguard towers out of season there until the residents weren't happy that they were there, and then we ended up moving elsewhere. That particular area is mapped by California as a wet area, which means that the reason why I couldn't move forward with doing anything on there is that it was an area that we couldn't disturb. So that is one of those things that we would have to take a look at with the California State Parks. Moonlight Beach, although it is a city beach and facility, it's actually owned by the state of California or the California State Parks. So we manage it and we have an agreement with them. So everything that we would want to do there, the state has to basically give their okay on too. So there's multiple levels of permitting that would be required to do something like this.
We thought that was possible, and I think we wanted to make it clear, we're flexible, right? We looked with other city people, and there's other options around that beach park. We just picked that one because, we were just looking out of the way and how it all fit together, but we're in agreement that, we understand, and, there's other spots we looked at.
Well, I love your idea that, you have the concession stand there, you have great restrooms. It's kind of the kind of main beach of Encinitas, so I understand a lot of the reasons why you thought, oh, yes, this would be a great location. Parking is a consideration, and particularly if we're looking at bringing more people, even the drone flight that you showed in the video, that parking lot was packed. Of course, you probably did it during the summer when it's a busier time, but it is one of those things that we have to look at impacts. So what's the impact of having that amenity to the park with regards to parking? How would the residents feel with regards to having it right next door to them? There is a reason why, for instance, in the ECP, that the skate park is kind of in the middle of the park. It's quieter for the surrounding community to not hear the clacking of the wheels and the activity that's going on there. So that is going to be one of those things that during the whole permitting process, you kind of have to go out to the community and get their input and see, okay, what did the local neighbors think? And that kind of wraps into certain considerations as well. Getting permits can be challenging. Getting permits at a beach is even harder. So I would say, just keep in mind that it's not just the city of Encinitas or even just the state, the California State Parks that you're looking at doing permitting through. So it's a big process. And for me, I feel like your site selection in the very beginning is so important, because if you're going to invest money, and it can be hundreds of thousands of dollars in permitting, you want to invest in something that you're pretty confident that by the end of the day, you're going to get sign-offs on everything, and you can move forward with that location. You know, the worst thing that we want to do is get a couple successes, and then we just can't move any further through a certain agency, and you've spent, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars on what you got to get to that point, and in the end, you don't have a park. So for me, I really want to help you find a location that, that works, that seems solid from the very beginning. And I love the vision of this. I'm just a little bit skeptical with regards to you getting it approved through all the different agencies that would have some input on it. So I would say, and I think one of you had mentioned that you had spoken with the California State Parks. Working with the district office, I think, is really important, someone that really knows what Moonlight Beach is, rather than up in Sacramento, so that you can speak with somebody knowledgeable. A lot of that area is governed by old rules that haven't been looked at for decades. So it's one of those things that it's going to take some interpretations. And I think that, again, the goal is to get it built in a great location where you can get it done as quickly as possible, as inexpensively as possible. And I would just be somewhat concerned that this might be making the project a little too difficult. That would be my personal opinion, and I'm a big supporter in what you're trying to do, but I'm a little concerned about that specific location.
Just a little bit feedback. First of all, when we pick a location, you know, we're flying blind. We need the help of the city or whoever, someone who can get movement, because us calling in, they don't know us from anything. And so, like I said, there could be more optimal locations that are more inexpensive to build the bowl. The other thing that you referenced is people. Remember, this is an escape park. So with a bowl, you're talking typically 7 to 10 people are skating that bowl, much like the volleyball courts. So it doesn't overwhelm the parking. Plus, some of those people are already at the beach that are using the bowl. So when people look at it and go, whoa, the parking, remember, we're not talking about a big community park. We're just talking about a bowl, which would rival what goes on with the volleyball courts.
I would say, though, that if you want to start holding special events there, then it becomes a whole different thing.
Yeah, well, we just wanted to leave the flexibility. That's why we left that
Right.
spot.
Right.
Because it'll be there for 50 years, so who knows what people down the road want to do, but it gives them flexibility. Because he's right, I did have it over in this green space by the playground, but we also realized it was near the water runoff, and it left very little room for people to come around. But there's other locations all around the Moonlight that might work as well.
Mm-hmm.
I just think, you know, we need help from the city, because when we try to reach out,
Yeah.
we're like any other Joe citizen. It's just
Yeah.
not effective.
I've been there. I know exactly what you
It wasn't
mean.
until I had Senator Blake Spear's office contact them that they, oh, yes, we did get your 37 emails. So we would need the help from the city, just because there's so many things, like you said, that we're vaguely aware of, but not in a specific way, that we need, you know, all three entities going. And then there's probably 2 or 3 more that will come along the way.
You're definitely at the stage, and I've done a few projects on my own that I've worked as a private citizen and trying to get, you know, make Encinitas an even better place, just like what you're doing now. And you're in a position right now in this process where you feel like you're flailing a bit. It's hard to know, okay, where should I go? Who should I talk to? How does this all work? And so there is a little bit of time in trying to figure out that process. And I would first say, I know you've worked with our operations manager. I think you've been out with our parks director as well. Thank you to staff for coming out and listening to your ideas and kind of fleshing out some possibilities. You know, I think one of the things that you had mentioned earlier that was important was restroom facilities, to have a location where you had some amenities in addition to just being able to have the park, the skate bowl. So when we think about restroom facilities and you look at the inventory of parks that we have in Encinitas, that does start to whittle down the number quite a bit. You know, I don't know if you've ever also considered about just putting another bowl next to the bowl that we have at ECP. That would be another option where you already have your core skate borders already there. I know it's not as sexy as the beach, but that's an opportunity.
And speaking, sorry to interrupt you, but speaking to location, well, you know, we're skateboarders, we're dreamers, we're creative. We're like, what would be the ultimate? We're going for that first,
Okay.
right? We're reaching for the stars. If we don't get that, well, we're going to take the next best or the next best. So, of course, we started as high as we possibly could.
Understand. And
Skateboarding is about trying and missing, trying and missing, trying and missing until we get it.
Yeah, we're not wearing
I
out.
love it.
We don't give up.
To raise the funds, to raise the money, you know, if naming rights are available for a family, an iconic park that already has a sense of place like this is much more achievable. As you start to move further away, you know, then it gets harder.
Yeah, then we'd be, if you're talking about by Poods over there, I mean, I think we're talking to city money, putting that in, you know? I mean, to be honest,
Won't take it.
well,
I
you
like
know,
your idea. Thank you, Ross.
yeah, well, good luck with that.
We have curb appeal here, you know, of course,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
But you need another bowl no matter what. I mean, you know, we're pitching the dream, of course, but
Sure.
ultimately, you just need more. You just have an abundance of talent and a small area to do it in, so you're going to have to grow in that aspect.
I know all projects, you know, there's exceptions and challenges, but this would truly make Moonlight a magical park. I mean, if you go next time you're there and walk from up top and just imagine people flying above this bowl as you're walking down, you're going to want to run down there and see what's going on. I mean, that you don't see that, and with the waves breaking and surfers, I mean, this is just magic. And like I said, the reason most people go outside is they want to be inspired some way. So that's the magic of it. Yeah, we know what's going on at Poods, but the thousands of visitors that come to Encinitas rarely get to see the magic. And here, they would see the magic, and who knows what would happen.
all right. Thank you very much. And I do agree that it's a grand vision, and I love that you guys are going for the best that you can get. I would be interested in hearing more about how your progression kind of goes with the California State parks, just to kind of get a little bit more of their input with regards to this is the specific land that you're looking at. Is there any way that they would allow an amenity like this to be added to it?
We need, you know, there has to be some feedback or some record keeping, because when y'all installed this beautiful playground over here next to the water, someone had to jump through a lot of hurdles to get that done. Anyone who, obviously people have moved on, that was 2004, but still, someone had the way to do it. And rather than us going off clueless on the thing, we need a little feedback. How did y'all do that?
Would it be possible to ask for some assistance from staff with contacting the state? Because that has actually been a challenge for us to break through their whatever communication wall.
Right.
And so if Dave or somebody can help us, just send them joint general inquiries. We're not asking them to commit to anything at this point, but just what are the steps we need to take? What would have to happen so that we could, see where we know the vision, but how could it happen?
Sure.
If
Manager
that's an okay
Norgard, do you have any input with regards to reaching out to the state in that respect.
Happy Tuesday. Staff under all projects operate under the city council's direction. So time, effort, expense follows the path of city council. So you're here tonight, you're doing this for the Park and Rec Commission. It's not a direction from the Park and Rec Commission. It might be advice up to city council, but it's direction of city council.
So we need to go to city council.
I would need city council to direct us to take those.
All right, thank you.
Oh, okay, all right.
Like,
That's good to know.
For city staff, that will not be a simple call and answer either. I'm not giving anything away.
Yeah, I just think someone had to figure out how to put in this playground. It must have been a challenge in '04. So there's definitely precedence. That's what I saw, was that y'all already did this infrastructure. So someone got approval through the state to do these additions. So that's our thought, is it's been done before. There has to be a way to do it again.
Okay.
Well, thank you again for all your time. Thank you, everyone, for showing up and supporting this effort. So look forward to seeing how this continues to move along.
Appreciate it.
Thanks
Thank
again.
you.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, moving on to oral communications. Nate, do we have any oral communications?
We do not. No oral communications.
Thank you. Any changes to the agenda?
And there are no changes to the posted agenda?
And we'll just wait a moment here while they exit. And if you'd be so kind to move your conversations outside the chambers, please. Thank you very much. All right, so all right, moving on to approval of minutes. We actually have 3 minutes that we need to approve. The first one being the approval for the June 18th meeting. And that particular meeting, Commissioners Capiello, Comarat, and Quinn were absent. So please, if you have not seen the webcast of the June 18th vote, if you would just go ahead and abstain from that, that would be great. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll motion.
And a second?
I'll give it a second.
Thank you very much.
Well, I haven't done my vote.
The June 18th minutes are approved.
Fantastic. All right, so moving on to the minutes for the special meeting that we held for the Recreation Services. On that particular meeting, Commissioner Comarat was absent, so if you'd please abstain. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll motion.
Thank you. And
Second.
a second? Great.
And the August 8th rec tour minutes are approved.
Fantastic. And our final one is the minutes for the Encinitas Parks and Recreation Senior Commission and Commission of the Arts Joint Special Meeting. We had one commissioner absent, that was Vice Chair Hansen, so all others may vote. A motion to approve minutes?
I move.
I'll second.
Brad, do you need to just abstain?
And the Joint Commission minutes are approved.
All right, fantastic, thank you. And it was a great showing of so many commissioners participating in that joint commission, so thank you for the participation. Moving on down the agenda, we're down to 8A, our work plan. So if we could go ahead and bring that up on the screen, please. All right, so we'll just kind of work through it. I know Commissioner Vandewaara will need to leave at 6:30. Was there anything that you wanted to say in particular on any of the work plan items that we could go to that one first?
Nothing to add on these.
Okay, great.
Thanks.
Well, let's just start with the very beginning. The first one, so we had a fantastic recreation services tour and lunch. Thank you very much to Manager Hammer for that. I am curious, have we set up a tour date yet for the park tour?
We have not. Typically, I like to do that one in September, and I would love to hear from the ad hoc on any ideas that you have, and I can meet with you on the side. A couple years ago, well, last year we toured some of the habitat stewardship areas and programs adjacent to that, I'd say. And then in the year prior to that, I don't actually remember where we went. And I know before that we saw sports facilities, so maybe we can have a quick meeting and talk about where we want to go.
All right, fantastic. So, so if the ad hoc could work on finalizing that, that would be fantastic. And considering that we're in August at this point, do you feel like September's still good, or should we push it into October? What are your thoughts there?
I think it's still good. We'd probably be looking at the end of September because I would want to make sure we can get everyone's availability. And our next meeting is on the 17th. So end of September, early October, I'd plan for.
All right, any other questions or comments on that?
Is there any way we can bring in the pickleball as part of the plan or part of the tours?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it might be a good idea to go and talk about options at different spaces and what the problems are.
I think that's a good idea.
Good, thanks.
Yeah, that is a great idea. Thank you, Vice Chair. Moving on to item number 2. So since our last meeting, which we actually hadn't met until June, was our last meeting, I know that there was some participation by the commission from various members for the Cardiff Dog Days of Summer back on July 21st, as well as the Pacific View ribbon cutting on the 6th of August. Thank you very much for the commissioners that showed up and was there for those 2 events. Anyone have any particular comments on any of those? I think, as we look at the calendar moving forward, we have another Moonlight Beach concert that's coming up on the 25th. And then that's kind of it through September. So I would say we might want to consider doing something for Movie in the Park on October 19th. So maybe the ad hoc can kind of take a look at maybe doing something along those lines for then, or just a general participation. So Great. So I don't think there's really much more to discuss on that. So let's move on to identifying guest speakers for the monthly meeting. We had the speakers today, which was a pretty full presentation. Next September, next month, I have invited BCK Programs to come, and they have attended last year, and basically they bring their students in, and they make presentations to the commission on what they've learned in some of their classes regarding the environment, ecology, recycling, those type of issues. And then the ad hoc will go ahead and work on some additional ideas for future guest speakers. So we've had a pretty busy calendar so far this year. So I'm glad to see as many guest speakers that have come in and spoken to us. Moving on to volunteer promotion and recruitment, does the ad hoc have any comments regarding that particular issue? That would be Vice Chair Hansen and Commissioner Capiello. Okay, nothing to report. That's fine. Moving on to number 5, the adult fitness equipment. I have worked with Manager Nargard. We've made some revisions to the equipment list that we're considering for the fitness equipment at Glen Park, and we're kind of waiting on the consultant to start working on the citizens participation program. So any new word on that status?
I don't have a date yet, excuse me, for our CPPs. I spoke with engineering last week about getting those going. They're getting pretty close. Excuse me. We have a number of parks CIP projects in progress right now that I'm going to touch on in the operations report that are kind of taking a little more priority because we've awarded construction contracts. But we are looking to get those done this fall.
Okay, great. Thank you. Moving on to item number 6, which is kind of a heavy lifting a work plan item that we have this year with multiple facets to it. I know that the ad hoc had met with staff just prior to the meeting. Would one of the ad hocs like to speak to your meeting or what's underway?
Well, we got a lot of work to do. We've got our goal, but it's a matter of how we support our goal, and that's what we're working on. Yeah, so I don't know. We had a productive meeting, I think, and like I said, I wanted the tour to kind of center around the pickleball and tennis problems a little bit, so everybody can get exposed to it. So I think it's moving.
And that sounds great. Manager Norgard, I know we had also talked about, particularly since we have some newer commissioners on the commission now, that it might be a good opportunity to just kind of review open play, group play, what does it mean, so that we're all up to speed on the lingo and the definitions and be better informed. So,
Sure, I can speak to that. So currently, within the city, we have 2 locations where we have pickleball on our tennis courts at Cottonwood Creek and at Moonlight Beach. Glen Park is tennis only. And at each of the locations where we have pickleball tennis sharing, our rules right now are set up for what is called group play. So 4 folks, either 2 or 4 people can get a pickleball court, and the rules state that they have an hour to play. And so that group will play as a group for an hour. Other cities within the county and throughout the nation have more of an open play model where it's 1 on, 1 off, or 2 on, 2 off, or even 4 on, 4 off. And what that allows is more folks get on and off the courts more quickly. They have a system where there's a rack on the fence next to the court. You put your paddle up there. If you're third in line, then you're the third person to go. If you're the first in line, you're the first person to go. And each single or double that loses on a court, they rotate off, they put their paddles back on in the back of the rack, and they move up the line. New people come on. So instead of one group having a court for an hour, in that same time, you may have 12, 16, 20 folks, maybe even more, that can rotate on and off. So last year, staff went and visited Brengels Park in Vista and Poinsettia Park in Carlsbad, and they have open play models. We reviewed some potential open play rules. We talked about it last year during the work plan, and we heard from some folks that support open play and some folks that support group play. So those rules have been in draft form, and really now we're at the point of we want to go out and listen to the community where they are, take a look at some parks, potentially have some more folks come in and give their input to the commission in a public forum in support of whatever rule changes may happen.
Hey, quick question on that. So is this like bar pool where if you're really good, you could keep the table all night?
That's a good question. In the open play model, it's common to have, if you have, say, 4 pickleball courts, one of those would be designated as what they call a challenge court. And so if you're real good at pickleball, you're going to be on that court until someone beats you. Unless, and some organizations do this as well, they'll set a maximum number of wins per champion. So depending on how the rules play out, you could be there. You know, if you're a pro, you're probably going to smoke guys all day long. Otherwise, you could set it up as 5 or 10 wins, and then you rotate out.
Thank you.
All right, fantastic. So not only are you kind of, as an ad hoc, looking at those items, but also we're going to be looking at the opportunity of moving the tennis court out of that Moonlight parcel, and then looking at options of where would we put one in its place, whether it be a Cottonwood or a CP or somewhere else. So I know that that's a very busy ad hoc this year, and thank you to those people on it.
Chair Ritter, one addition. I had planned to present the results of the Encinitas Community Park feasibility study for additional recreational amenities. However, our consultant is doing some last-minute additions and edits to the report to look a little bit more closely at the parking requirements. So I will present that to the full commission at our next meeting on September 17th.
Thank you. That's one of those things that have been going on for quite a long time. So we're really looking forward to hearing more about that. And basically, the idea is to take a look at what the consultants come up as to whether we can put more fields, playing fields, whether it's sand volleyball courts, whether they're pickleball courts, whether they're fitness, adult fitness courts on the Encinitas Community Park. So we'll hear that next month. I don't think we have anything else unless any other commissioners on that ad hoc had something to say. Okay, great. Regarding the pop-up parks, on that particular thing, nothing's really new to report other than we might consider doing something for the movie night in October. Moving on to number 8, the Trails Master Plan. Would any of the ad hocs like to address that? Any updates?
No update. No updates at this time.
And any additional contact with the Encinitas Trails Coalition?
I was invited to a meeting with them, but I was out of the country at the time, so
Okay.
There's no further update from me. Maybe Julie did.
Julie and I attended a meeting with them right before now June, I think. So that was really informative. They had the maps out, and the staff that spend most of the time working on these trails, I've got to learn a lot. So I feel like I'm improved at least baseline of what's going on with that. And I don't know when the next time they're getting together, but I would be absolutely into attending again to hear what's new. I mean, there are specific things that we talked about as far as specific areas that have some concerns that need to be dealt with, and I learned a bit about how Eagle Scouts have built structures out there as their part of their project, and that they've worked with them to help add stuff to the park, signage and things like that. So really neat opportunity to hear about the extent of the trails out there.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. On item number 9 regarding the Harbor Seaside Parkway, there's no new developments on that. So that brings us to number 10, Friends of Encinitas Parks. Vice Chair Hanson, did you have anything you wanted to say about that particular one?
Well, I had a little. Cardiff Park.
I'm sorry, you probably do.
They're
Please
now
do.
in compliance with all of the filings, which I got done. But not much going in terms of progress on his project. So I did get to see that it's a great idea, and I'd really like to see it happen and fast, but I don't know how he's going to go about doing it. Yeah, thank you.
Well, I'd like to thank you for the time with working with them to get their books all up to date. So that's fantastic, and it's one of those things that you just got to have done. So you're a man of experience that have done that many times for various organizations, and I'm so happy that you were able to help them with that. The last that I heard, they were working on some geotechnical studies. Thank you to Manager Norgard for taking a look at their plant lists most recently. So in that sense, I think we're on track from a permitting standpoint, but we're just kind of chugging through the process. So great. Thank you for circling back to touch on those items. So since you brought it up, how about Friends of Encinitas Park?
My understanding is that the group is meeting on Monday.
That's what I hear.
So we'll have something to report at the next meeting. There's nothing to report tonight.
All right, sounds great. All right, so that, oh, I'm sorry, there's one more, the bylaws. All right, so I spoke with Manager Norgard about taking a look at some of the bylaws that other cities, counties, municipalities that have written some. I know that the staff had done some extensive research on that before, and I asked that they share that with us. And I know just prior to the meeting, Manager Norgard ended up sending us an email with lots of PDFs where we can kind of take a look at the various bylaws from these different municipalities and just kind of browse through them. You know, I'm always a big believer of why recreate the wheel if it's already rolling somewhere else. So I think it would be worthwhile for the ad hoc to go ahead and start the process of kind of looking through those, maybe identifying things that would be worthwhile for us to incorporate in ours. Our particular commission's a little ahead of the game since we already have a set of bylaws. So maybe start with what we have, kind of read through that, and then let's kind of take a look at what some of these other municipalities have done, and then maybe as an ad hoc we can meet and discuss what our thoughts are, and then we can bring it to the full commission and then get the full commission's thoughts on them as well. So this is going to be kind of an ongoing process through the next few months. Go ahead.
That joint meeting with other commissions that I believe was it Doug? I'm sorry, I don't know his last name. Who ran it? We learned a lot
David
about.
Knopf.
Sorry, yes. We learned a lot about some things to consider. And I know we are ahead of the game, but when I left that meeting, I felt as though there was some other things that staff were going to go back with some of the information that we all kind of contributed with, and was maybe going to have a second round of this to come to some agreement as to a handful of maybe approaches. The reason I bring it up is because some comments were suggested in the sense of like having like a mission statement is one of the things that is maybe missing from our bylaws, and that if, not that every commission is the same, but we have very similar mandates, so to speak, and perhaps there is sort of a format that every commission would kind of use that has some consistency to it, but that is only made adjusted to the particular commission. So I only bring that up because if we were to sit down as the ad hoc committee and to start making some edits to the existing bylaws, and staff and the other commissions are planning to have another meeting or introducing some other concepts that they want us to consider, I just wanted to know whether that's happening or not, whether it's back to us and we're off to the races to do whatever efforts we're going to make as a ad hoc committee for the bylaws.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts. I agree. I don't want to create a lot of double work by any means or add to confusion. As it currently stands, there's no intention of having another joint meeting currently. That doesn't necessarily mean that a few months from now, they may go, you know, Parks and Rec has some great ideas out there. Maybe we should just do a joint meeting and kind of do a share. It is a lot of people and a lot of chefs in the kitchen when you have that many people with different backgrounds trying to kind of pull it together. So it is one of those things where I think if we can start with our commission to kind of hammer out what's important to us, and then we'll bring it to the full commission and get additional input. You know, I think, for instance, the ad hoc had kind of had a discussion as to is a mission and statement or a vision statement important to have or not. And I don't even know, like, from a legality standpoint, does that even go in a bylaw? You know, is that something that you just kind of do separately outside of that? So we can kind of lean on staff on those particular points. However, I do think that probably it's best for us to kind of think that we're on our own at this point as a commission to kind of do what we want to do. And then there might be an opportunity where we meet again with our sister commissions, but currently nothing's planned. Did you want to
Chair
go ahead?
Ritter, I'll just add that for areas where the commissioner ad hoc thinks there might be overlap with some of the other commissions, I can be your conduit for that. So staff, we support all the different commissions through our liaison role. And it's pretty easy if you guys come up with a mission statement or whatever the topic might be to say, hey, staff, what do you think of this? And is this consistent with what some of the other folks are doing? And I can find those staff and ask them what they're doing. And as Chair Ritter mentioned, it's really about pulling out the biggest topics that came out of either the joint meeting or your review of the materials and saying this is really where we want to spend our time. And just kind of thinking ahead to the end of our work plan year. You know, we're in August now. The holidays are going to come up quickly. So I would plan to make this a bit of a work item for each meeting and in between each meeting so that we can come prepared with questions and let's throw something at the wall and see if it sticks kind of thing. And as mentioned, we're a little bit ahead of the game because we do already have some bylaws created, and so it's really a matter of pulling out the things from the meeting that we talked about, like defining roles, whether it's of staff or the chair, and do we have time limits for public presentations and things like that. And then just some of the cleanup things, when you read some of our bylaws, they can be a little bit vague. And I think that's why looking at some of the other municipalities in the county and around the state will help with that.
Just to follow up then with when we left that joint meeting, I was under the impression that he had mentioned like, oh, I want to take a picture of all these big dry erase boards or whatever, and he's kind of gathering some of the topics that we had, but I didn't necessarily understand what he was using that for. If that was going back for some other purpose for record keeping, or if it was to redistribute out to the ad hoc committees that we're going to be working on.
We'll pull those notes together and disseminate them to each of the commissions.
Thank you.
Yeah, one quick comment on that, and I just had expectations, sorry, that we were kind of trying to develop a common outline for all because eventually the city council is going to have to approve all these, right? That's the point. So it would make a lot more sense for them to, instead of bottom up, just do top down, saying, here's the outline for your bylaws, and here's what you have to have in there. Here's the stuff that could be in there, and here's the stuff that just does not belong in there. And I thought that's what the exercise was all about. Is that what you were? Yeah, so I think we were kind of looking for the feedback from that group that says, here's what we have decided from that, which would certainly expedite all of us commissions handing in our bylaw suggestions. Somebody would have to parse through all that stuff and make it a lot easier to parse through. Just a comment.
You're the top down here. So,
that's frightening.
So each commission will craft their own. City attorney will review those and pull any red flags. I suspect at the end of the day, they're going to look pretty homogeneous.
Thanks for clarifying. Now I understand the mission.
All right, so if we don't have any additional comments on the work plan, let's move on to the next item. Alrighty, so starting on informational items, we'll start with 9A, Park Operations Report. Manager Norvard.
Thank you, Chair Ritter. A couple updates for tonight. Just a reminder that on September 25th, we have a joint meeting with City Council to discuss Surfers Point. I would encourage you between now and that meeting to at least drive by the property and familiarize yourself with it. At our meeting on the 17th, I can bring up some aerials and maps and things to show you give you a little bit more orientation before the meeting with City Council so that you're not going in there blind. But it's helpful just to get out there and drive by it and see what it looks like. It's a relatively small piece of property, right around 2 acres, right there out on the corner. So more to come from staff on that, but please do take a look at it. I wanted to give an update on a couple CIP projects. The Scott Valley Park project, which I've presented here in the past, went out to bid. Unfortunately, we only got one responsive bid, and it was well above our budget. So staff in the CIP engineering department are revising some of the documents and clarifying some of the language. We got some comments back from contractors that had looked at it but decided not to bid. So we're streamlining those documents and planning to go out to bid the next couple weeks. So hopefully we can get some better bids and get a little more competition on that and keep that moving along. The Cardiff Sports Park LED lighting retrofit project went out to bid and has been awarded. We're working with the contractor now. They're ordering the materials, and we spent some time going back and forth with the contractor to figure out the best time for them to implement that, because if we just move ahead when the materials are in stock, all the lighting and ballast and all those things, we'd have some impacts to our sports fields. So we have annual closure periods for rest and renovation for all of our fields, and we've identified that we're going to be able to do pretty much the entire project during our winter closure, which is from November 25th to January 5th. And that's in basically 2 field tranches. So fields 1 and 2 will be closed for 2 weeks, and then fields 3 and 4 will be closed for 2 weeks, and they'll rotate around and get those done. So looking to have that project mobilize in November and be completed in January. And then lastly, the Olivenhain fencing project, which is also grant funded like Cardiff Sports Park. That project has also been bid and awarded, and we are working with the contractor to issue the notice to proceed. They have to get some submittals and show that they're getting the right material, and once we have all that in, then they'll have their notice to proceed, and I think that'll be done this winter as well. So 2 of the projects that we've been working on for a while, I anticipate will be done early in the new year. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. And if we can move on to Recreation Services, please.
Manager Hamer here. I want to thank everybody who joined us at the Pacific View Art Center grand opening on August 6th. It was a very exciting day for the community, staff, and the officials who all played a part in making the project a reality. If you didn't make it, I encourage you to go down and visit or sign up for a class. Everything is now in our fall activity guide. The hours are very unique. They're Tuesday through Thursday, Saturday and Sunday, 10 to 3. It's their experimental hours, so they are closed Monday or Friday. But if you haven't seen it, you really do need to see it. I give a shout out to the parks team as well. They did an amazing job of the outdoor landscaping with all the California natives, and it's just a sight to see. It's very exciting for the whole community. Also wanted to update you. I know Chair Ritter's always beating me to the punchline, but we do have the last Moonlight Beach concert. That is this Sunday, 1 to 5, featuring beet farmers. So if you haven't made it, this is your last chance to. We're also looking for volunteers. I know the volunteer program was brought up. Even though we have quite a large number of volunteers now, getting them attached to assignments continues to be somewhat of a challenge. So we probably have about 4 shifts still open for the beach concert. So we'll be calling some of our VIPs, but just wanted to point out if you know of anyone who's volunteering, you can let them know that Beach Concerts needs a few more volunteers. Another spotlight is our movie in the park, Saturday, October 19th, featuring the film Scoob. We are already doing some of our preliminary planning for that. We'll also have a spooky feature like we did last time, because the movie highlights a ghost dog. So there'll be a mystery with clues, and we had a huge hit with the kids wearing their Halloween costumes, so we'll encourage that again, and plan to have just a family fun blast. And last but not least, the holiday parade theme is creativity in motion. You'll see that in the activity guide, but the most important part is the parade entry applications open on September 9th. That'll be online, and then usually as a commission, you also represent an entry, so that will be September 9th that we'll start accepting those. No rush, you'll still have plenty of time, but just to get you thinking. And that's all I have.
All right, fantastic. Any questions or comments for staff?
Are there any ideas being floated for Surface Point yet?
That'll be one of the topics of discussion at the meeting, I believe. What I've heard so far is that this will really be a first public meeting for council and the commission to talk about potential uses.
Any other questions or comments? All right, moving on to item number 10. Do we have any commission member initiated agenda items
We do not.
or future agenda items added by commission members? Nothing? Great. Let's move on to the commission roundtable. Commissioner Quinn, would you like to start us off?
Yes, I don't have anything to report other than what was discussed already today. Thank you.
Thank you. And let's just go on down the line.
I just wanted to send a thank you to Manager Hamer and the staff for the tour. It was really informative and really appreciate everyone's time. Thank you.
Nothing to add, thank you.
I also wanted to thank Manager Hamer and staff for driving us around. And I agree that the new Pacific View Art Center looks amazing. So awesome.
Do I just want to sound like everybody else and thank you for the tour? No, it's just been a wonderful experience, and thank you for the tour. Seeing the Pacific View Center before it actually opened, just before it opened, was really a treat. But that's all I've got. Thank you.
Well, I guess I'll say it. Just to wrap it all up, but yes, I did want to say that the recreation service tour went very well. I think it was extremely informative. I know it takes a lot of time and effort on all the various staff members that participated to make it happen. So we appreciate all of that. And when we were on the tour, you can really see from staff that they're really excited about it opening. And I know when I went to the ribbon cutting and just seeing some of the kids participating in some of those rooms and doing crafts or whatever, you just start to see the vision of that facility come to life. And I unfortunately missed my first class last week, but I'm looking forward to my class on Thursday. So I may be drawing a masterpiece and bringing it in, but most likely I'll probably tuck it away somewhere. But thank you very much. It was a great tour. With that, I'd like to go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 7 p.m. Thank you very much.